Hey guys, it's DJ. Welcome back to my channel. Let's talk books. So it is still very Black History Month, and we're going to keep the ball rolling with these black books. So in spite of the crazy ploys of our insane government here in the United States and some other governments all over the world, we are going to stay in the lane of peace, happiness, love, joy, knowledge, and just enhancing our bandwidth of understanding where people come from, how they feel, why heritage and culture and so many different things matter to multiple groups all over the world, and empathy. Empathy, understanding people and giving them space to feel how they feel, to express how they feel, and also to remember the things that have happened in the past, what's happening now, and absolutely what could happen in the future. But not to dwell on that too long, because let's move into 10 more books that I would like to suggest for this Black History Month. These books are not just pertaining to historical means when it comes to African Americans, but also just literary fiction, black authors, some things that do have to do with the history of black people in this country, but it's a variety, a mixture, dare I say, a DEI list of books that I feel like would be a great suggestion for anyone that is trying to enhance their prowess on black authors, black happenings, the black experience, and all things black. And the cool thing about this list for me specifically is that I have not read all of these books. Actually, I've only read maybe one of these books on this list. So I feel like this is a great time for me to even pull some books off of my shelf and be like, hey, let me read something that I haven't read that will actually influence me in a great way. So I'm going to start with the one and only book that I actually have read on this list. And that book is Between the World and Me. And this is by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Hopefully you guys can see that, because I know my camera just doesn't camera all the time. So yeah. So Between the World and Me is by Ta-Nehisi Coates, one of the best black authors to be alive right now. And I mean, he is actually dealing with a lot of controversy based off of his most recent book, The Message. And it has a lot to do with what's going on in Palestine and his views of the conflict between Israel and Palestine. Amazing read. I actually read the audiobook, and I have to get my hands on the physical copy because I just feel like reading audiobooks is not terrible, but for me, I just feel like I retain the information a little bit better when I'm actually reading what's on the page. So I think I'm going to get that. But yeah, so this book is pretty much like a love letter from Ta-Nehisi to his son, kind of like explaining his experiences growing up as a black man in the United States and how he would want such a different life and different opportunities for his son growing up in today's age of the United States. Of course, a lot of things have changed. Things were totally different even 10 years ago in the United States, but we're moving into a space where things are kind of retracting and becoming more like what used to be, which is very confusing and honestly makes absolutely no sense to me, but here we are. Kind of explaining how the black body exists in America and how a lot of parents, a lot of boomers treated their children totally different from how black parents treat their kids today. A lot of black parents back in the day were very hands-on. They'll beat your ass if you were doing something that you weren't supposed to do. And a lot of the times it was in the name of protection, knowing that the black body is truly not safe in America and most places in the world, just because of crazy racist rhetoric and who else knows. I just can't even understand why we deal with the ideals of judging people based off their skin color. Makes absolutely no sense to me, because at the end of the day, some people are just dumb, some people are idiots, some people are evil, some people are brilliant, some people are great, awesome people, but we can't define that based off of skin color, and I'm a witness to that because some of my people can't do them. Some of your people can't do them. Some of my people love them. Some of your people love them. So it's all across the board. You just have to get to know people and understand that everyone is diverse in their own way. But yeah, so this is a great book to just give insight on how someone growing up in a different time in America, especially as a black man, and how he would like for his black son to grow up just feeling a little more free than he did when he was growing up. awesome book. Read it for yourself. Ta-Nehisi Coates is amazing, and I suggest this for anyone that has eyes. Okay, so the next book on my list is Sing, Buried, Unsing, and this is by Jesmyn Ward. So I've actually only read one other book by Jesmyn Ward, or edited by Jesmyn Ward, and absolutely amazing book. That book is The Fire This Time. And this book has multiple writers and authors kind of giving their reflections on race and race relations in America and potentially all over the world, just how Black people are experiencing the idiocy of what racism is. And there are some profound stories and writings in here that are amazing. So read this as well. So honorable mention. But this book is a novel, and so it's based on fiction and pretty much following a character by the name of Jojo, who is 13 years old, trying to understand what it means to be a man, a Black man in America. Jojo, his father is in prison, and he is a white man, and his mother is dealing with drugs. She's a Black woman, and Jojo is just trying to find their way through life and trying to figure out who is actually a good role model to kind of like implement in their life as far as like becoming a man. I have not read this, so I would love to get into it because it just kind of like formulates that narrative of like, how can we actually figure out how to be freestanding people in a world that always wants to put the shackles on us, whether it is mentally, emotionally, or financially. There are just so many ways that the world just kind of like hounds down on Black people, especially Black men, so that we have to kind of like navigate away from the idea that we are thieves, we are violent, we are lazy, we have no intellect, we have no prowess on how to actually navigate life. All foolery, but I do want to get into this because I know Jesmyn is a great writer, and I do want to understand other perspectives when it comes to how Black men are growing up in this world, or even just coping with what we have to deal with right after birth, dealing with racism, dealing with oppression, and also dealing with classism, because having a white father that's in jail and a Black mother that is strung out on drugs kind of performs a mixture of things that will kind of have someone dealing with not having money, not having a great educational system, not having a great home foundation to develop someone into being a great human being. And that's really unfortunate, but a lot of these books always have something that I love to talk about, and that is resilience. The resilience of someone just actively trying to figure out who they are and how they can become who they want to be in a world that is ultimately just fighting against them. So it's an awesome suggestion for anyone out there looking for something to read. Boom. So the next book on my list is There Will Be No Miracles Here, and this is by Casey Gerald. I don't know if you can see that. The cover is actually kind of cool with all those lines and stripes. Really, really cool. Usually when it comes to memoirs, I like to read about people that I've never heard about. I don't really get into like celebrity memoirs and like books about celebrities or like well-known people unless they are like directly connected to any ideals or any views that I would like to read about specifically, and I know that they will connect with me in that way. But I like to go into memoirs not knowing the people because I like a good story. I'm not super nosy and I don't like a lot of drama, but I've heard a lot about this book and this writer, and I feel like this would be something great for me to get into where I don't have any like preconceived notions of what exactly is going on. So I feel like I will learn a lot from this. But yeah, another Black author that I can add to my list for Black History Month. And for some people out there who don't necessarily like to read a lot of fiction and they want to know something about people who are actually out here living the life and fighting the fight, this may be good for you. There Will Be No Miracles, and this is by Casey Gerald. Okay, so the next book on my 10 more Black history suggestion book list is How Beautiful We Were. This cover is really fire. Such a cool cover. And this book is by Mbolu Mbu. Now, I know I'm probably saying that wrong, but you guys already get it. You know how I am. I'm just not going to get it right. Maybe I do. You know what? I'm going to give myself some credit because sometimes I do the right thing. Okay, so How Beautiful We Were. This is a novel set in a fictional town in Africa called Kosawa. And pretty much the people that are in this town are dealing with like economical and like environmental disaster. There are like oil companies and other like companies that are destroying the planet and the world around them. And it's really interesting because this book was written in 2020, which I feel like is close enough to right now. But literally what is happening right now, there is a dictator that is ruling over this village or this town. And of course, just amplified in their mean ways of just trying to get towards more money, living in greed, and not really caring about anyone else, just about like personal gain. And y'all know where we are right now in the United States. Sounds very familiar. So I have not read this book. I'm not sure what actually goes down or how these people are dealing with this, but I would love to find out. Of course, the cover just got me. I love a good cover, and that looks really fire. And it shows something that we all kind of need right now, and that's unity. We need to be unified if we're going to figure out how to get ourselves out of this ridiculousness that we actually call life right now. I've had this on my shelf for a really long time. I would say damn near from 2020. I've seen it on Bookstagram, BookTok. I've seen it in some really cool stacks. People suggest it. So I think this would be really cool to read during Black History Month if you want to get more awareness, more insight on Black authors. This looks like an amazing read, and I will read it. Probably not this month because I am already knee-deep in some craziness that I'll talk about at some point in this video, but suggestions. Okay, so the next book on my list is The Sweetness of Water. This book has been everywhere. When I say everyone that has ever seen me post this book on Instagram or like in a stack somewhere, or they've seen it on my shelves, they're just like, have you read that yet? Why haven't you read it? And you already know the little Oprah Club jammy going on right there. So yeah, Oprah's book club, that always means a lot, I guess. Meaning a lot of people have actually read this book. This book is by Nathan Harris. And apparently it is following a bunch of characters during the Civil War, a Confederate soldier and a Union soldier, and I don't know. I'm not even going to read the summary because since I've heard so much about this book and how great it is, I'm just going to read it at some point. And yeah, if you guys have read this book, of course you already know what to do. Go into the comments, tell me what I need to know. Don't tell me what I shouldn't know because I'm going to read it. But yeah, let me know if it was like a 5-star or 1-star. Let me know how you felt about it because I definitely want to read it. And yeah, if anyone is looking for something to read, I heard this is really good. It's by a Black author. Get into the sweetness of water. The sweetness of water. All right, so we are like halfway through the video and totally forgot about a tradition that I have created for my own videos. And I'm sure you all have already just been in the mix of it because I just move without thinking. But let's talk about the new nail set. Hopefully you guys can see it, but these are cool, right? Like I got this chrome vibe going on and I got a little cat eye going on there. When I saw these colors at the nail salon, I was just like, oh, this is giving melanin. This is a melanated vibe. And I'm really feeling it. I feel like they really match my rings, match the whole all gold vibe going on. I got a new piercing. I'm doing a lot. You know, I'm doing things that are going to satisfy me in a happy, peaceful, loving way. Anything that's going to make DJ happier, DJ's going to do. But yeah, hopefully you guys are feeling this new gel set, the whole vibe I got going on. Now let's get back to the books. Okay, so the next book on my list is We Cast a Shadow. And this is by Maurice Carlos Ruffin. Cover's fire. I've never even seen a cover like this before. The book looks amazing. And there are a bunch of like blurbs on the back from authors that I love, absolutely love. Like Roxane Gay and like Keys Lehman and Victor Lavelle. Really, really great authors. So yeah, this book has been on my shelf for a while. And apparently this book is set in the near future in a southern city plagued by fenced-in ghettos and police violence. More and more residents are turning to an experimental medical procedure, and the father of, I guess, our main character, Nigel, who is biracial, is kind of like scared for his son because his son is getting darker and darker each day. So he's in fear of like violence or something like that happening to his son. And that's all I know. I think that is crazy. And I think that idea kind of connects with many other ideas of why parents are so hard on their children today. Because it doesn't just pertain to race, it just pertains to like most discrimination in the world. How like a parent of like a child who may be gay or lesbian or trans or any of those things, instead of them trying to understand their children better and figuring out ways that they can like implement more knowledge into society and get more people to understand what's going on instead of just outwardly just hating things. A lot of parents will show hate or will show some type of defiance towards what their children are identifying as instead of like connecting with them because of fear. There's this thing where like you're not going out late, you're not hanging out with those people, you're not wearing that, you're not getting piercings, you're not getting your nails done, you're not doing all these things because of fear of how the world will actually react towards their children. They want their children to be normal, coast by, be safe, don't attract any type of attention towards you because they don't want it to be the wrong type of attention. But in my opinion, the best way to like help people be who they are, be free, be happy is to embrace all people, to actually get more of a better understanding of who someone is, why they're that way, and without the judgment of saying, oh, well, you're better than this person or you're not like this person and you're not going to survive because you're like this and I'm scared, so I'm going to treat you like the other people treat you, like you shouldn't be yourself. That's kind of what I'm getting from this, but I haven't read it. All I've read is a little summary on the inside of the book. So yeah, I do believe at some point in this year I will get to this book. I won't be reading it this month because I'm reading too much. I'm reading like 4 books at once and But yeah, if anyone is looking for something interesting to read, something that is along the lines of identity and how that narrative kind of like goes interchangeably between parents and their children, and just the idea of older people trying to protect younger people and the way that they do it in all facets of society, this seems like that type of book. So if you're interested, get into it. If you've read this book, let me know. But the cover is really dope. Yeah. We cast a shadow. Okay, so the next book on my list is, y'all all know this one. Y'all know this one. It is Americanah. This is actually not the same cover that I've seen for like multiple covers of this book, but I actually like this. It reminds me of like a brown paper bag. It's just really cool. And this is by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who is just a goddess. I mean, if anyone has ever like heard her work or heard of her work or heard her speeches or her speaking and her ideals on like the tone deafness of the world when it comes to Black, African, and just like the Black experience. And I feel crazy because I've had this book for a while. I bought this book because I heard a speech by her and I was just like, oh, clearly I need to know a little bit more. So yeah, I have no idea what this book is about. I don't even want to read the summary. I just want to read the book at some point. Like, DJ, like, get your life together. Get it together. Read more. Be better. So at some point I'm going to read this. If you've read this, please let me know. This seems to be a thickie. It's one of those books with small writing and lots of pages. I mean, yep, we're going past 500 up in here. This is another suggestion for Black History Month, Americanah. Get into it. Okay, so the next book on my 10 more Black History Month suggestion list is The Color of Law. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have actually seen this book. The cover is fire. Like, whoever drew this, whoever had the idea to even put this together is, you got it. This book is by Richard Rothstein, and I do believe that Richard is actually a white man, if you can see it here. So yeah, this is actually the only book on my list that is actually by a white person or a non-black person. And I had to include this because I've heard so many black people speak so highly of the research and all of the findings that go into presenting a book like this that talks about redlining, that talks about the racism around where black people can live, can be free, can incorporate their lives with others. I'm sure this speaks on like segregation, of course, because that is a huge part of what redlining is, which is so profound because once again, we're talking about a bunch of people not understanding other people and just going based off of like social norms. After slavery, of course, white people just felt like, how could we ever live with a bunch of, yeah. So this talks about that. And I think that it's really important to think about those things because how do you know a people if you don't actually get to know them, especially like without the restraint of like slavery and racism and the preconceived stereotypes of how black people are just seen in media, in literature, in the law. I've been privileged to actually like go to multiple places throughout the country as a child. I used to sing with a choir, multiple groups, and I would just meet so many different people. And it was so hard for me to understand bias and racism, classism, and all those things because people are so different in all categories and all groups, marginalized or majority, where I just never could understand how you could judge a book by its cover. You just have to kind of like get into it. But hey, that's me, that may be you, but that's not everyone. So this I do believe is going to be extremely informative. A lot of people have talked about this book and a lot of people stand by how great it is. So I will be reading this very soon. I may actually get to this month because this is just something that I really, really want to learn more about. So yeah. Anybody interested in this? Go cop it. I'm sure it's at your local library if you don't want to spend money on books like I continuously do. And I need to find a sponsor. Soon these videos will be like, and now a word from our sponsor. Because I need the money to keep reading these books. But yeah, so go out, get into this, and read it. Boom. Okay, so the next book on my list is How the Word is Passed. And this book is by Clint Smith. And there is a little blurb down here. It says, "We need this book." And that's by Ibram X. Kendi. I've been reading 400 Souls for the past week. It is a dense book with tons of information. Let me just bring it out if I'm going to talk about it really quick. This book, Ibram and Keisha and every other author that is in this, y'all see my tabs. Like, this is an important honorable mention. Right now, I'm like on page 275. And when I say I am taking my time with this, I'm annotating, I'm getting every little crumb of information I could possibly get from this book because it is crazy and amazing to find out about so many people and so many happenings in American history, just beyond slavery, just getting to know who these black people are, while also finding out how weird white people were in the past. Like, what? The laws and the craziness that these people tried to implement, not even tried, did implement in the country is just, it's baffling. And now seeing what's happening, what's going on now, where history is just definitely repeating itself. But yes, this is amazing. So to have someone like Ibram write something like "We Need This Book" really means something to me, and I definitely want to read it. And the subtitle says, "A Reckoning with the History of Slavery Across America." I don't think a lot of people understand how heavy the experience of racism affects life now in America and will always affect how we are as a society in America. The main reason of that, in my opinion, is because we are grappling with something that has never been directly atoned for. Like, we have to have that conversation as a country, specifically in America, in my opinion, there needs to be that talk. There needs to be a rectifying situation going on with like how slavery affects us now, and how we can't just be like, oh, let's forget about it and let's move on. There has to be some type of atonement, some type of connection where we talk about, hey, this happened. Maybe you guys are sorry. Maybe there is a way to kind of like fix what happened by like changing our way of living as a complete whole. Who knows? That's not up to me. That's not up to me. But yeah, so how the word is passed. I feel like this is a really, really important topic that I've been reading about a lot this month. And the more I read about it, the more I understand that we really can't move into the future until we start to like reckon with what we've dealt with and what our ancestors have dealt with. Because here we are now going backwards. And yeah, before I get to the last book on this list, I do want to make another honorable mention. This is one of the other 4 books that I'm reading currently at this time. And that book is I Once Was Lost. And this is by Don Lemon. Y'all know this face. Y'all know this man. CNN. 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 This book is pretty much following Don Lemon from his childhood experiences in the Black church in the South. I believe it's the South, which is very relatable. I don't know if anyone else out there grew up in church, grew up in Black church. I did, and I can definitely connect with the idea of being in a super emotional, high-paced musical environment, passionate preaching, hooping and hollering and shouting and running and dancing all over the church. That was my experience as a child. I spent pretty much 4 days a week at church, singing in choirs, prayer service, Bible studies, concerts, all that. But beyond that, realizing as I grew up that a lot of the stuff that we experienced in church was extremely fantastical, superstitious. A lot of it we just had questions about, wondering, is this real? Is this true? How? And what does this mean? How do these contradictions of the Bible actually coincide with our belief? How do we go further if we don't understand what's going on? All those questions, and Don had those. So Don, after being released from CNN, pretty much went on this whole like self journey of figuring out where is God and how is God even seen in society, and what does God mean to multiple people. Just kind of reassessing, not losing his faith, but trying to find a deeper dive into what faith actually is and how other people feel about faith. Don goes into these, I would say, literary rants, just talking about like slavery, racism, discrimination, and the contradiction of it all, of how you can believe in God and believe in how God has created all people equal, but also be racist towards another group of people by and saying that these people actually aren't equal. So now you're calling God a liar, but you would say that God isn't a liar. All of that, lots of that going on in this book. I am on page 109, and there are about 200 pages in this book, so I have 100 pages to go. Very fast paced. Don, I have a whole new view on who Don Lemon is. It's so funny how we see these journalists on television or on social medias every day, kind of like giving their heart out to their jobs and reading tons of books, tons of articles, and having all this knowledge and all this mental power, and we dwindle them down to stories, just news stories that we've heard. And for me, I have such a higher respect and a almost love level for people like Don Lemon or Isabel Wilkerson, who they are profound writers and they have such profound ideas about how the world looks and how it should look, and just kind of like amplifying the contradictions that these people just spew. And this book is amazing. Anyone who is interested in finding out a little bit more about like faith-based ideas and research and just the Black experience, another Black experience in America, this might be for you. Don Lemon, I Once Was Lost. Amazing. Okay, so the last book on my list for this another top 10 Black History Month book suggestion list is Good Dirt. And this book is by Charmaine Wilkerson. Another Wilkerson. All right. I mean, we love that. Charmaine is also a great writer. I believe Charmaine wrote Black Cake, which I loved. I loved the book a lot more than I liked the show. But I will say that Black Cake was actually amazing. So I know absolutely nothing about this book. I know that this is a new book. I think it actually came out this month or last month, and you already know, Book of the Month vibes. So yeah, I don't know what this book is about. Apparently there's a 10-year-old named Ebby. She hears a gunshot, and then I think her brother is the one that's actually shot. They say the crime is never solved. Don't know. I know a lot of people are reading this or have read it because Charmaine is famous at this point because of Black Cake. And maybe other books, I have no idea. I read Black Cake and I thought it was really good. So hopefully Good Dirt will be just as good. But I wanted to add something in that isn't just about the same narrative of slavery and all those crazy things. This is another fiction book. And hopefully I really enjoy it. Doesn't seem like it's that long. The way that Book of the Month prints their books, you just get big letters. It doesn't seem like, you know, it's really hard to get through them. It's really fast paced just by the way that they print their books. I've enjoyed it. So yeah, last book on the list, Good Dirt. If anyone has read this, leave it in the comments. Let me know what you thought. And if you haven't, this is another suggestion for you. The month is not done. It's Blackity Black, Black authors, Black content, Black subjects, Black. 10 books is a lot, but I feel like this is great. It's a great opportunity for people who are feeling like they're in a reading slump. You don't know what to read, what to buy. Go to those libraries. If you have Spotify or iTunes and you have like a subscription, I didn't even know that my subscription had like audiobook hours. So I've had this for years. And I think I get like 15 hours a month where I can just listen to audiobooks. If you can't afford to actually go out and buy some books, use those hours that you have from those subscriptions. Libraries are free. Go get you some books and read. I think the best thing about reading is that you can control what you are retaining. You can control the imaginary outlook of it. You see it how you see it, and no one else is kind of like controlling your mental unless you are letting the author control your mind while you're reading a book. But I think it's just great that we can read and witness for ourselves and actually have tangible books that are not connected to like reading something on the internet where it can be changed, edited, erased, or taken away. It's always good to have something tangible that you can touch and reach back on and be like, hey, actually, I read that and I have the proof and the evidence. But yeah, so not to hold any more of your time, I always will be grateful and thankful for you guys spending some time with me while we talk about these books. And you know what to do. Go into the comments, send me some messages, let me know how you're feeling, let me know what you've read, give me suggestions. Also, hit the like button. Of course you should subscribe because the vibes are just vibing. We coming back. I'm trying to get to like one video a week. But as we all know, life is a mess. So I'm doing what I can, but the party is always going to keep partying. We always going to keep it up and live. So I'm glad that you guys are here. Subscribe, stay tuned, and I will see you next time. Thanks for coming by. And until next time, peace.